Everyone. So I okay. Hi everyone. So evidently this is a new form for me. I have done lives before. I did not do any last year. However, I the last time that I did them, the setup here on Facebook was a little bit different. So I apologize that I'm starting a minute late. Um, but I did want to. And I'm just looking here. Okay, yep, we're good. Brand new screen setup, everything, so making sure everything's fine. So I just wanted to say hello. Um, John Watts, founder, organizer for the group, and this is my January 2025 Facebook Live called Getting Started. This is geared, I'll tell you straight up front, this Facebook Live is geared toward those who are either brand new to scrapbooking or are a little bit rusty. Maybe you had to take a little time away, or you were working, maybe you got the inspiration to do some card making and now you need to get back into scrapbooking, but what happens during life? We are always taking photos. So now maybe you're a little bit further behind and you're like, how do I get started again? So I just wanted to do a short overview of some of these topics. And there are some other videos that I've done in the past that I'm going to be resurrecting. Facebook unfortunately messed up a lot of us who manage these groups when they got rid of the hashtags, or they were also referred to as topics. So the topics went away, and so all the videos I've done, all the posts I've done. Hey Vicky, hope everything's going well. Hope hopefully you didn't get hit with a lot of snow. But anyway, the topics themselves kind of went away, so it meant all the hundreds of videos I've done got crashed into unreadable piles. So that part's a little icky. But anyway, let me go ahead and get started. Again, this really is like I don't plan this to be probably more than half an hour, but it's really kind of geared with just some reminder things about if you're brand new to scrapbooking or you're getting back into it, just some tips, suggestions, and things. So there's really when we think about getting started, there's really two ways there that is about, like I mentioned, brand new to the craft. And if that's you, welcome. There are ways to do it inexpensively. You do not need, you see all the stuff behind me? That was a decade worth of collecting. It was over time. You don't need this to get started. In fact, half of this, well, actually, this is used for crafting. This stuff is used for other things. Um, so it's like if you're new to get started, but also if you have a bunch of photos and you're getting bogged down in do you pick up where you left off, or do you start with the new stuff? So I just wanted to hit some key highlights for some of these because really both share a lot of similar traits regardless of which path you're currently on. One thing is you need photos. If they're in your phone or they're in a drawer or in a tub of, a bin with a lot of other photos, they're not going to do anybody any good. You are certainly not going to be going through the bins or the drawers. And if they're on your phone, you might flip through every now and then, but seriously, at this point, even I've got 1,500 photos on my phone, and I take 500 off at a time. But as I said at the beginning, life goes on. It continues, and you're always taking photos. Make sure you get yourself in some of them. You definitely do not want to be the one omitted from photos. Even if it's just one, I tend to make sure I'm in one selfie at an event, and then the rest, can be everybody else. But I make sure I'm in at least one. So you need photos. What else do you need? you need something to put the photos on. Now that could be straight on an album page. That, excuse me, could be cardstock. That could be paper. Um, what else do you need? You need some type of cutter. Now, if you're just starting out, that could be scissors, and you have a ruler. And that's how you're going to figure what a 4 by 6 is, for example, or 4.5 by 6.5, because most photos will come around 4 by 6 size, unless you specialty print them in different sizes. The trimmer is something I do recommend. You can use scissors. It's definitely a little bit more awkward. It's going to take you longer. But if you're just starting out and you're testing the waters, that's an inexpensive way, because we do all have scissors. However, I would recommend you don't use your all-purpose scissors that are in the kitchen that you might use for those type of things. I would say it's worth spending, you know, the $5 or $6 to just buy scissors that are paper scissors. If you are a fabric crafter, you know that fabric scissors work differently from regular all-purpose scissors versus like our paper scissors and things. They're all just designed, the blades are designed differently to work with different types of material. So you want to use the one that's most applicable. The other thing that you would definitely eventually need is something to put those layouts in. And that's an album, but that can come down the road. Those typically tend to be a little bit more expensive than the other items. And then you do need a pen because you want a journal. You want to really make sure that somewhere, even if it's not on every page, some folks journal every single page, some folks never journal. I kind of fall in between, so I tend to journal the start, because like if I'm doing a trip, for example, I might have 20 layouts to show that trip. And I may only journal, like really journal on 3 of them. It like each new day, and for me, I consider journaling using either a pen, so it's my own handwriting, or I will actually, you know, use things like the alpha stickers, which you can, those, in that case, that's numbers, but for the year, etc. Or you can do things, you know, like these for little titles. Or if you've got a Cricut, you're definitely in the more, I'll say more advanced. You could create your own titles that way. And if you're using that for card making or other things, scrapbooking, there's a lot of overlap between card making and scrapbooking. Many of the materials can be used in both. I use stencils and metal dies to create die cuts and things for and titles for my scrapbooking. Or quite often I will actually, there's a lot of folks that do that naturally, and they're really good at it, and they're really inexpensive for like a title die cut. So for $5 or $6 a piece, some are as low as $3.50. I will definitely support somebody who's at their business, or I should say who does that as their business, just from the standpoint of it saves me time from having to pull the stuff out that I don't use as often. So eventually, just in terms of a pen for journaling, it could be a pencil. If you do use a pen, the one thing you want to understand is with all the products, you do want to make sure it's acid free. You do not want things bleeding through. You do not want stuff that isn't archival or acid free. And there's a third one too, and right now I'm blanking on it. However, in addition, the last thing is everything else. All this other stuff, punches and those kind of things, those can come down the road. But really that's what, you know, it's the basics of those, even stickers. And you can get stickers at Dollar Store, Dollar Tree. I know there's a lot of other similar, you know, Five Below, and you can find a lot of things very reasonable there. You just want to make sure, like your paper, I wouldn't use construction paper. That is typically not acid free, and that's going to eat through photos eventually. It's going to turn the photos colors, just like the old magnetic style photo albums that had just that clear sheet that you would peel off. So really, I mean, that's all you need. You need photos, something to put them on. Eventually, you'll need something to put those in if you don't have an album right away. Some type of cutter, trimmer, and if you use scissors to start with, you need a ruler. I said eventually the album, and then just a pen for journaling. Everything else, as you decide that you like this, it'll grow. I did do, as I mentioned, I think it was 3 videos that walked a brand new scrapbooker through each of these steps. And I showed in detail the types of pages, the types of albums, and things. I am just going to show a high level thing because even if you're getting back into it, you may decide that for your project, maybe you were used to using the standard size that is the most common, the 12 by 12 size, but perhaps you might find that you've just got a little mini album, and so something like an 8 by 8 will be very useful. There's even some older ones out there that are a 7 by 7. So you can definitely find some smaller sizes. You don't have to do a 12 by 12. And there's even sort of the happy album style that Creative Memories has, which is more like, I want to say it's like 6.75 by, I forget the height, but it ends up being very similar to planner sizes. So it's a little bit more, it's taller than it is wide, but it's still kind of a nice size for small things, or maybe you print out smaller photos than 4 by 6s. So there's many different options out there based on what you need there. Just to jump into photos, so going back through that list of what you need. Photos, one thing I wanted to mention is there are a lot of sites that you can go to. Creative Memories even allows you to print photos out. There's Shutterfly, you can get them printed at Walgreens, Costco, if you have that type of membership. I know, I forget which company it was recently. I've never used them outside of a test once, so I forget the name, but there was a company that just, was it Persnickety? If they're not still around, they might have been the ones that shifted everything over to Costco. So you've got definitely choices. Shutterfly, for example, if you use the app, you get 100 free photos every month. So if you print a little at a time, that's good. I tend to find their shipping is more expensive. So what I'll actually do is I find it overall cheaper to wait until they have the free shipping, do it on the website, and because the shipping can cost me $40 or $50 with when you're printing 500 photos at a time. I've even seen it up to 70 when I had a lot more than that I printed. But you can also sign up if you do a high volume. You can sign up, and they have a yearly plan which gets your rate cheaper. And the best thing about Shutterfly is you can actually, once you've got your order in, you can flip which of the options you want, if you want to go with their sale, or if you want to go with your discount. You can actually play the price game and see which is better. And as Vicky just put in chat, Walgreens has great coupons every week. So it's like there's a lot of different options out there. Don't keep photos on your phone if they're for something that you want to get into the book. It's a lot easier to get it into the book when you have them printed. And the best thing about it is organizing, which is just what I wanted to spend a moment on next. There are a lot of advisors out there who might do something called a sip and sort. And so if they have folks over in their home, or they might do a virtual event where everybody's just, whether it's a beer or a glass of wine, just getting together, or you can do it when you're in front of watching the TV. For example, you guys can't see, but in front of me here, muted, happens to be the AFC Championship NFL game. I'm a huge NFL fan. Of course, my team got booted out in the first round, so I'm not as invested on these two teams as I would be if mine were here. And in fact, if mine were here, I would probably reschedule this live, to be honest with you. But in the interim, you could sit when you're watching TV and just go through photos. There's so many different things you can do for sorting photos. There's so many different products out there. I do talk about some of those on one of those 3 beginner videos that I'm going to dig out. I'm going to start using the guides in this section, and as I start digging out some of these tutorial photos and videos, I'm going to start putting them into sections there in the guides to help you guys look at what's already been created, because the videos have already been done. Not a lot in this territory has actually changed over time, so the information that's there is still pretty relevant. Outside of that, let's see, the videos. Okay, so once you actually talking about something to put the photos on. So we talked about there's paper, there's cardstock, you can put them right on the pages themselves. So I've been scrapbooking since the 90s, and what I have, just to kind of showcase this a little bit, is one of my first albums that I ever did. Page protectors weren't even around at the time, but I'm just gonna hold this up. This happened to be 1993, and it's literally a white page with this little strip of paper on either side and then some photos right on there, and you can actually see that, and I'm going the wrong direction of course, you can see down in this opposite corner here I just wrote some information on there. So this was a friend of mine from college, and I just wrote, is this Steve, that's his name, or Tim the Tool Man? So that was a kind of a little bit of a play on an old TV show that used to be on. So a lot of people still do this today. This is the most economical way, honestly, is just putting your photos right on a page. You do not need to be fancy. Other folks are extremely fancy. They will put anything from 4 or 5 different layers of paper, and then triple matting photos and layered embellishments and border strips and lots of things on it, and that's beautiful as well. And then there's some that just put one photo, or you could fit 10 photos. Depends how small you want the photos to be, if you want to layer them on top of each other. And there's videos throughout this year that I'll be going through that kind of talk about some of these topics tied into things that Creative Memories offers, but some of them also exist with other companies as well. But I just wanted to show that example. And then the other example that I have here is from another album, because there are multiple ways that you can store things. So different color pages. Again, here I actually just scrapbooked straight on this page itself. It's black, so anything popped up nice, and there's not even pictures on here. This is all just a calendar here that actually shows what the dates are. But I wanted to show, so there's that where you're just scrapbooking on the page again. A lot of these are like that. You can also do things, there's other types of things like pocket page, pocket scrapbooking. And so there are companies that actually devote, and they're smaller size than this. This is one of the types of multi-pocket pages that Creative Memories offers that you can just slide in photos for. And it was a perfect showcase here to actually show what was or wasn't, what you can do. And then you can also put paper in here or other notes and things. So right here, this is not a photo, this is a journaling box and everything. And then there's somewhere in here, I know I have the third option. Okay, well I can't find the third option, so I'm not going to hold you guys up. But the third option is where you just slide in your layouts. Now for that case you have to actually put your photos on some type of cardstock or paper, and then you just slide it in. It's a pocket with the opening at the top. Lots of companies sell these. Creative Memories does sell them, as well as the pages, as well as the multi-pocket, so you really get your choice of what's going to work best for you. And if you're a beginner, you might not know. So the main thing you just have to determine is what kind of size are you going to start with, because ultimately that's what your paper is going to look like first. And then the last thing I did just want to mention about pages is in the 12 by 12s, there are also pages that we have that are pre-designed. So if you're saying, for example, you don't have time, you don't have the energy, you're not creative, well, these are great ways to go, and they do come out with these a few times a year, and it's already pre-printed on there, so all you have to do is just add some photos, maybe a little bit of stickers, and you're done. So it excuse me, 1 second for my little Dr. Pepper break. There we go. So all that really does is just kind of help give you many different options of pages and things. So I like the Fast to Fab pages myself because they're less expensive than buying plain pages plus paper. So while there are times that I will just put my photos directly on the page, I don't typically do that anymore. It's rare that I do it. In that case, the album I showed you, it made sense because I wanted my photos to really pop. I did not want to have any challenge or conflict with the paper background and the photos. I wanted the photos to really be the main piece. So for many of those pages in that album, I used the black pages and just slapped them on there. Maybe matted them a little bit just to pull out more colors in the photo, but that was about it. But with the Fast to Fab, it already does the connection and the design colors for you. So it's pretty cool that we've got so many different options that can fit within a budget, that can fit within needs and what you're looking for there. And once you have, now you might be thinking, what you create these layouts, but I told you hold off on an album cover. If you did not see an album that you wanted right then and there, whether it's through Creative Memories or whether it's through Michael's, for example, maybe at one point you saw a Recollections album cover and it's out of stock. You can still do the layouts. You do not need to wait to have an album. What I do suggest is that you have some type of holder, and it can be something as simple as one of these types of sleeves, or it can actually be, something a little bit more specific like this, that you just put your layouts in. Now over here, I actually do have layouts that I've done. I have layouts that I've created that are waiting for photos, and I have also another bin, just like the one I showed you, that have layouts that I've made with photos that are waiting to go into albums. So as long as you've got some place that you can store them, you can still, when you're feeling creative, because let's be honest, if we're not feeling creative, we can sit down at our table. It can, whether it's your desk, whether it's your dining room table, we could sit there. We're not going to get much done if we're not feeling the mood. So when you are, nothing should stop you from being able to go ahead and create some of those layouts. And as I said, I've just gave you a couple examples, but there's many others that you could use for storing them as well, until you're ready to put them in an album. Because one of the other things to think about is, are you more desiring to do chronological scrapbooking or by theme scrapbooking? Most of the people I know do chronological. I am 99.9% by theme. So it's completely different. And even my themes aren't by year. So I'll feel whatever event I'm working on. I will put those photos together and I will put them in the album. But a chronological scrapbooker may want to dive into something more current, even though they have something older to do, and that's perfectly fine. You just need a place to store them until you're ready in your chronological albums to get to that point. So there's nothing that says you only can scrapbook a certain way. That's what I love about this, is there's so many different ways to do this. And that's really just kind of the key things that I just wanted to bring up in this getting started. Really, it's taking that first step. Um, I have done classes. I have done personal consultations with folks if they're having either a getting started type issue or an organizational type issue. If there's questions, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them, work with you on them. And it's just trying to find one little step. Yesterday I had a virtual crop, so every one of us was doing something different. And I think at least one person was not actually doing scrapbooking. But you need an outlet. So what I did want to mention was, if you have not seen it yet, and I'm going to see here if I can do this. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like I might not be able to. Uh, Initially, it was giving me an opportunity to, but that's okay. I was going to share my screen and just show the actual item that I have here. But in my Facebook group, if you go to featured, or if you're on your phone, featured, pinned, you should see my 2025 events calendar. It has all the months, and it has Creative Memories virtual crops, which I recommend. If you can't attend it, make sure you're on their crafting email distribution list, because you will get the blog posts from them. You will get the virtual crop events, and make sure you join the group, because there are literally thousands of layouts being created, and I get so much inspiration from it. But so I've listed all of their items on my event calendar. I've listed the 7 Zoom crops that I'm hosting, one of which was yesterday. So there's 6 left, 4 of which are free, and then 2 of which are National Scrapbooking Day, as well as Croptoberfest. So the 2 major scrapbooking holidays, or holiday events. They're not necessarily on the actual day. I've listed when my Facebook Live events are. There are 10 more of them. December I take off, and November is actually going to be your choice. So after you've seen what I've done so far, as soon as the October Facebook Live finishes, I'll put up a poll and see what you guys want me to do. Now, I've done this in a couple years in the past, and one time you guys came up with an idea, and one time you didn't. So then November I took off. So it's really, what do you want to see? The last thing I did want to just give a quick update on is, coming up this week on January 30th is my 9th anniversary with Creative Memories. I cannot believe it's been that long. So stay tuned for some special things that I'm going to be doing around that. And really, I mean, that's it. Like I said, I wanted to keep this to about 30 minutes, and I'm hoping that if you didn't get to watch this live, that when you watch it back, there's some idea, some tip, something just to kind of help you. And then if there is not, if you actually were watching this live, hopefully there's something, that might have triggered there. And feel free, if you've got a couple other things, share them in the chat. I know, Vicki, you've been incredible with kind of providing some information. It sounds like you've been on the craft journey almost as long as I have. I think I started in 94, maybe. Those home parties, I'm not even quite sure, when that first one, 93, 94. But with that, I'm going to shut this down, and I just hope that everyone has had if you're in the cold, you aren't too cold. If you're in the snow, you don't have too much snow. If you're in California, I hope that everything's okay, and everything's okay with everyone that you guys know. and everywhere else around the country or wherever you're watching this from. I just hope everything's going well for you guys, and until next time, I will say thanks for watching.